So we are today reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam's 4th canto, chapter number 12 and verse number 37. This chapter is entitled Dhruv Maharaj Goes Back to Godhead. I'm very sorry we didn't meet the class this time.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, sorry to interrupt, but Mataji already read the shloka translation and everything. So you can just start the class. She has done Mangalacharya also.
Okay, so I was not really aware about this 1 hour daylight shift time. Anyways, we'll take a note of it. So today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto, 12th chapter, shloka number 37. Just for the sake of completeness, once I'll read the translation. It says that persons who are peaceful, poised, cleansed and purified, and who know the art of pleasing all other living entities, keep friendship only with the devotees of the Lord. They alone can very easily achieve the perfection of going back home, back to Godhead. So it's a very, very instructive and very beautiful verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam's 4th canto, 12th chapter. The chapter essentially talks about Dhruv Maharaj's going back to Godhead. And you can understand that how Dhruv Maharaj has upboarded the transcendental airplane, and just as he was about to board the airplane, he remembered his poor mother Suniti, and because of remembering Suniti, the Vaikuntha Loka Vasis, the messengers of Vaikuntha who had come to receive Dhruv Maharaj, Nand and Sonal, they understood the mind of Dhruv Maharaj and they showed that Suniti was already going forward in another plane. Prabhupada has given very fantastic purports to those verses over there. And then when Dhruv Maharaj was comfortably seated on the airplane and passing through the space, he saw all the planets on the solar system. He also saw the demigods engaged in their own different lokas, and they showered flowers upon him. So this also we read. And then Dhruv Maharaj surpassed all the planetary systems of the great sages, the Saptarshis, and beyond that region he achieved the transcendental situation of permanent life. So he reached the abode of Lord Vishnu. So this verse tells us the key to achieve the eternal destination of going back to Godhead. Some of these qualities are heard more than once, especially when we read the Bhagavad Gita. We hear this quality of equipoise. Essentially, there are these 5-6 qualities which are mentioned over here: being peaceful, being equipoised, cleansed and purified, and knowing the art of pleasing all other living entities and keeping friendship only with the devotees of the Lord. So I thought we will discuss a little bit about each of these qualities, which are very essential for growing in Krishna consciousness and going on the path back to home, back to Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada has also done this. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna constantly explains to Arjuna that one should be equipoised. The very instance Bhagavad Gita appeared on this planet was due to a circumstance where Arjuna got disturbed. It is the very nature of material world to keep on bringing constant disturbances. So in the material world, we cannot expect a life without disturbances. Whether it is India or whether it is America, whether it is day or night, whether it is the summer season or the winter season, whether it is youth or it is old age, whether it is for males or for females, disturbance is essentially a phenomena of this material world. Therefore, the famous quote says that in the material world, misery is compulsory, but suffering is optional. So it is up to us whether we want to suffer by the hands of those miseries, or we want to be able to face those miseries and remain peaceful and equipoised even in the most trying circumstances. What is better for a devotee? To pray to Krishna that, "Oh Krishna, please do not give me any disturbances," which may not be very practical, because of the very arrangement of the material world, we are bound to suffer from four miseries, which are the real problems of life: birth, old age, disease, and death. And of course, we are freely awarded the three types of klesha: Adi-Devi klesh, Adi-Bhautik klesh, and Adhyatmik klesh. So the material world is referred to as Dukhalayam, Ashashvatam, and another word which refers to the material world in the Bhagavad Gita is Martyaloka or Mrityaloka. So material world is a place which is full of suffering. That is very sure. And a devotee expecting no suffering or praying to Krishna to not give any suffering will be far from reality. So therefore Krishna has constantly, practically in every chapter of Bhagavad Gita, urged Arjuna to learn the art of remaining equipoised. Equipoised means what? Equipoised means having the inner strength to be able to face the circumstances either through using one's intellect or using one's mental strength or using one's spiritual strength. One is able to remain above, remain aloof, float above the circumstance, and he can maintain his composure, his mind, he is even-minded. He doesn't get affected by the circumstances. So this is called as equipoised. And the famous verse comes in the Bhagavad Gita: Matra sparshas tu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agama apaino anityas tam stitikshaso bharata. This is how philosophically a devotee understands the situation of the material world. Everything in the material world, whether it is misery or whether it is pleasure, has a temporary nature, and therefore it comes, stays for some time, and then goes off, dwindles. So a person who learns the art of remaining equipoised will be best situated in the material world and can steadily progress in spite of all trying circumstances. So therefore, here the verse says that the persons who are peaceful and equipoised, they are very fit to go back to home, back to Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada has also made a point about this. Srila Prabhupada says that a devotee, he speaks with a different reference to context. He says that a devotee sees everyone on the same transcendental platform. A devotee knows that although a conditioned soul has a particular type of body, according to his past fruitive activities, actually everyone is part of the Supreme Lord, and thus one does not discriminate on the platform of the bodily concept of life. So a devotee is equipoised in terms of not discriminating even on the bodily platform. As practicing devotees, we are trained in philosophy to learn one thing right in the initial days of our Krishna consciousness. What is that one thing? One slogan which Srila Prabhupada has given, and that slogan is quite often quoted even without realization. And that slogan is, I am not the body, I am spirit soul. So repeatedly it has been spoken so many times, I am not the body, I am spirit soul, I am not the body, I am spirit soul. Once it so happened that Srila Prabhupada was addressing a gathering of people, and in that lecture, to make this point very clear, emphatically Srila Prabhupada was saying, many times he spoke, I am not the body, I am the spirit soul. I am not the body. He kept on saying like that repeatedly. One fat lady from the audience, on one occasion, she thought in her ignorance that the Swami sitting on the stage is not his body, he is some spirit soul. But for us, we are all our bodies. So what was Prabhupada saying? Prabhupada was actually relating it to every living entity, although he was speaking in first person. But the point was to be conveyed to all the living entities. Everyone in the audience has to understand that we are not the body. At another point, Srila Prabhupada was giving another address, and there was another fat lady who was sitting in Prabhupada's lecture. And Prabhupada said in that lecture, you are not the body, you are spirit soul. You are not the body, you are spirit soul. So the lady felt that Srila Prabhupada had some divine mystical power and he could see transcendentally the situation and position of everyone. And therefore she became happy that Srila Prabhupada pointed at her and said, "You are not the body, you are spirit soul." So she went very divine, elevated because of Srila Prabhupada pointing this out. And then in her heart she became very relieved that, okay, I am not this body, so now no one will call me fat person. So she became very peaceful in her mind. She liked this philosophy of Prabhupada. So although we speak this, but acting on this platform is very different. And Srila Prabhupada says that for a person on a transcendental platform, he sees everyone at the same transcendental platform. So there are two situations that we undergo. One is the situation of being conditioned, and the other is the situation of being transcendental. Conditioning means what? Conditioning means to be colored with a certain idea of how things are. So the living entity is conditioned with the philosophy or with the concept that I am the body. And therefore, being so conditioned is working hard in that direction to satisfy the bodily needs, to uplift one's bodily situation, to accumulate more and more bodily designation. So being on the bodily platform, a living entity spends practically whole of his life in eating, sleeping, mating, defending. These are gross needs, and then there are subtle needs which are relating to the mind, intellect and false ego. And the living entity is just easily satisfying them. Everything he is doing is just for gaining material, mental pleasures, intellectual pleasures, and the pleasures of the false ego. So even the subtle body is our own self, and it is a conditioned self because it refers to the material subtle body. So seeing everyone on a different vision, seeing everyone on a transcendental vision requires us to actually become transcendental. And in the Bhagavad Gita, a beautiful verse actually highlights. Bhagavad Gita's every verse is like the Shubha. So this verse says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Havi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapapicha Panditaha Samdarshi. A person who is endowed with grace, with who is adorned, embellished, privileged, he is very, very humble. He is very, very meek and humble. And what is his vision? Brahmane Kavi Hastini Shuni Cha Shvapapecha. He sees with an equal vision a Brahman, a cow, an elephant, an ant, a dog, and a dog eater. So all different segments of society, all different bodies are seen as consisting of the same spirit soul. We see this graphically in the case of Mrigari, pastime of Mrigari, which is heard Chaitanya Charitamrita. And also we see this in the case of Jada Bharat, which is the pastime heard in the Srimad Bhagavatam script, and of how these transcendental souls were above the bodily conditioned platform. So they were able to see every living entity, including an ant, to be a part of the Supreme Lord, and therefore they did not want to harm those ants. So our Srimad Bhagavatam, our philosophy, the Vedic wisdom, teaches us to actually befriend every living entity. That is the way we can attain universal brotherhood. Man is really striving for universal peace and happiness, but till the time we do not have a common denominator, it is very difficult to identify with each other as being from the same family. So this is how our tendency of I and mine can be doubted in achieving the Supreme Lord. When we apply this I and mine to every living entity is my brother, or is related to me because it is a part of the Supreme Soul, so then there is no question of violence. There is so much of violence. People are indiscriminately eating any kind of crawling creature and without feeling the pain experienced by that creature. So people have really gone in such a depth of ignorance that for them these pains are practically non-existent. And because many times they do not see the slaughtering happening in front of their eyes, they fail to experience the pain. But it is quite well understood by any intelligent person that definitely the living entity might have undergone very high degree of pain. So, if you want to achieve transcendent, if you want to achieve universal brotherhood, if you want to achieve peace in the world, it is very important that through the medium of this Krishna Consciousness Society, we preach. We preach in whatever capacity we can to make everyone aware of this basic truth. There are some few basic truths which, as a devotee of ISKCON, as a follower of Krishna Consciousness, should be our aim, that everyone coming in contact with us or with the mission of Srila Prabhupada should learn. As you can say, the basic tenets of our philosophy. Like Jesus Christ gave basic 10 commandments. So like that. There is a book written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Dash Mula Tattva, the 10 basic commandments, the 10 basic tenets. So it includes these kind of philosophical points, that I am the spirit soul, connected with the Supreme Soul. The material world is a place of misery. Everyone suffers according to their karma and reaction. There is reincarnation of the soul never dies. So there are some such basic tenets which each practitioner of Krishna consciousness must be very much convinced, or must be on the path to become fully convinced, so that we can preach very nicely. So, Srila Prabhupada says how International Society for Krishna Consciousness is showing the path of universal brotherhood. Srila Prabhupada says that as persons in Krishna consciousness, we invite everyone without discrimination. We request everyone to sit down and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and take as much as prasad as we can supply, and thus everyone is pleased with us. So when one is on the transcendental platform of being the spirit soul, it is very easy to please every living entity. Those who are on bodily platform, or on mental platform, or on intellectual platform, or on egoistic platform, cannot please everyone. We will be able to please only a segment of those people who may relate to us on that platform. But it is very difficult to please everyone. In a house of 4 people, there is always a challenge to make ends meet, make everyone become pleased. So there are times when in the home, the wife is not pleased, the husband is finding it difficult to strike the right chord with his son or with the relatives. So in the material world, because everyone is on the bodily platform to different degree, pleasing others is very difficult, because everyone thinks that we are the center of the whole creation, and therefore it is very important that we become Krishna conscious, we rise on the spiritual platform above bodily consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada says that this is the qualification, Sarva Bhutatma Ranjanaha. We can please everyone, and we can see in great souls like Srila Prabhupada, whoever met Srila Prabhupada, whether they became a devotee or not is a different point, but they were certainly pleased with his demeanor, with his personality, with his way of preaching philosophy, with his enthusiasm to write so many books, with his hectic travel schedules, with his simplicity and devotion. So there were so many aspects by which the devotees were pleased. Anyone who came in contact was pleased with him. So Srila Prabhupada says that how a person becomes purified, how a person becomes capable of pleasing everyone, When one constantly chants the Hare Krishna mantra, no contamination of the material world can touch him, and then he is therefore actually purified. Uchi hai, shuchi hai, Hare Krishna bhaji. It is said that even if a cobbler or a person born in the family of a cobbler can be elevated to the position of Brahman if it takes to Krishna consciousness. So, we have heard of some academies who prepare students for competitive exams, and there might be many such academies there also. So, the academies want to always showcase a very, very good track record of success. So they want to show that how many of their students have made it to their top-notch institutes. Like in India, the IITs are very famous. So every academy focuses on publishing their results with big number of seat count. That 273 students from our academy made it to the mains. Then 100 students made it to the advanced interview calls, and then 60 students made it finally to the IITs. But many of these academies which intake the student, we should first see what is the method in which they intake the students. So most of the academies which are very interested in maintaining high result, they only accept students which are of high caliber. But for business purposes, they open the doors to everyone and then push these other low caliber students into different batches, A batch, B batch, C batch. I can practically tell this because I interact with so many students here. So the A or the B batch are the ones which are high caliber students, which have proved their mettle in the previous board exams, 10th exams, and therefore they classify them separately and give them extra time, extra facilities, good teachers, and and very focused attention. But the others who are not so qualified, who are average kind of students, they are pushed in another batches, and then they have an average schedule of the day. So the results come from these students which are in those A and B batches. So the point over here is noteworthy that International Society for Krishna Consciousness is such a society that we can take in as an input, we can take even the most lowest category of person, socially ostracized, like cobbler or a person born in the family of a cobbler, but he can be elevated to the position of a Brahman if it takes to Krishna consciousness. So our Academy of Krishna Consciousness is such that the most wretched, the most lowest and most simple people get free entry, and they can be converted into the best of the Brahmanas just if they stick with the Academy, if they stick with Krishna consciousness. And not only that, they can become so highly elevated that they can purify the whole universe also. So what a wonderful and what a powerful academy that we have. Unlike these material academies who just take high caliber students and then convert them into top rankers, we are, as in Krishna consciousness, accepting all people and converting them into the best of the Brahmanas. So we have a great job to do in furthering this mission of Krishna consciousness. One of the very interesting points made in this article over here, in this translation over here, which once we read this, that the devotee keeps friendship only with the devotees of the Lord. So that's a very important angle for all of us to understand. There are two angles to which I will just speak and then conclude. First is that keeping friendship only with the devotees of the Lord. So as a social animal, as a social being, we all need to keep friendship with someone or the other. So there is a need for satisfying our, there is a social need felt which has to be satisfied, and we all need friends, we all need seniors, we all need juniors. And many times, even as practicing devotees, sometimes we find it difficult to give up our material friends whom we have been associating from childhood or from college days or from work life. So we maintain good rapport with them. Of course, we have some certain material give and take. There is some material purpose also involved in it many times. But one thing essential over here is that the devotee should keep friendship only with the devotees of the Lord. And the other way to understand this is that the devotee keeps only friendship with the devotees of the Lord. That means amongst the devotees of the Lord, because we associate quite often on a weekly basis, regular basis sometimes. So being so familiar, this familiarity breeds contempt. And sometimes we may start wondering that the devotee around me, next to me, is he really worth to be called as a devotee? So we may start seeing the faults, we may start seeing the shortcoming of the fellow devotees, and because of this, we may impede our own growth in Krishna consciousness. So devotee keeps only friendship with the devotees of the Lord, means giving up, sacrificing all other sorts of emotions which are not helpful in Krishna consciousness. The devotee just tries to maintain friendship at all costs. So for being able to do so, we have to be free of ego, we have to be humble, we have to be purified in our purpose, we have to remain peaceful and equipoised. And by this, by doing all these which is mentioned in this verse, we can very easily achieve the perfection of going back home, back to as Gaura Maharaj did. And not only that, a devotee becomes so famous because of these qualities. In our ISKCON society also, we have had so many stalwarts who were very, very equipoised, very friendly, and they knew the art of pleasing all other living entities, and because of which all other living entities were also pleased with them. Right? So, like, we see so many of our ISKCON sannyasis who are maintaining good rapport and good regards for people of the world, whether they are political people, whether they are people of the other religious backgrounds, or they may be just contemporary leaders in the society. Our ISKCON sannyasis are having very friendly and pleasing disposition towards them. Of course, that doesn't mean that we start interchanging our philosophies, but because of our such gentle-minded behavior, we have a good name in the world today. One example that comes to my mind is of Jayananda Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's famous disciple, who served in the last moment of his life in the mission of Srila Prabhupada till he finally succumbed to leukemia cancer. So he was one who actually knew the art of pleasing every living entity. Nobody was disturbed. There were so many people who used to get annoyed because of the loud banging of the cymbals, drums, the 4:30 morning schedule which would disturb the sleep of the neighbors, and the devotee washing their clothes would consume so much of water, and they had such big feasts all the time, so many people coming, the shoes spread all over the passages. So many people used to be very, very fried out of our Hare Krishna. But Jayananda Prabhu had such a pleasing background that he would go and personally meet all these fried out neighbors or the people in the street or the vegetable sellers, and he would not only pacify them but come back with winning their hearts. So for a devotee, it is very essential to understand that we have to become very, very fixed in our purpose. Whatever we can do to preach and to make the other person a devotee is what we should try and do, so that our Krishna consciousness movement can increase leaps and bounds, and we can reach out to everyone in the world, and by that facilitate everyone's going back to home, back to Godhead. Like Dhruva Maharaj, a young boy of just 5 years, achieved this destination right when he was 5 years. Of course, he ruled the kingdom. Of course, he had a good, very prosperous kingdom, and we also heard the story of the Yakshas. But at the end, he's going back to home, back to Godhead, on the grounds that he was peaceful, equipoised, purified. He knew the art of pleasing all other living entities, and was maintaining friendship with the devotees of the Lord. In another section of Parikshit Maharaj's prayers, which will come soon in few chapters down, we hear that Prithu Maharaj, when he pleases the Supreme Lord and the Supreme Lord comes into his arena and awards him a benediction, Prithu Maharaj just requests the Lord to award him friendship of devotees. This is our greatest asset, and actually this can help us keep saving in Krishna consciousness for the whole life that is remaining with us. Just maintain friendship with the devotees. Occasions like Gaur Purnima, Nityanand Dvadashi festivals, they give us so many opportunities to again rejuvenate our ties and make our bonds more stronger. We have a community. This is Srila Prabhupada's home in which the whole world can live. Of course, sometimes we make our own compartments within that big home or make our own bedrooms within that big home. But leaving all that aside, it is only on the bodily platform. We come together and people from all walks of life, from all races, religions, all communities, can actually come to one common pivot, that is Krishna. Then everyone can associate with each other, make friends. And for that matter, it's not only human beings. Actually, we read from the scriptures that a person can also please the other living entities, maybe the animals. So even that, so it depends on how much we are realizing this in our life, and we are trying to live up to it. That much we can reach and we can perfect in our Krishna consciousness and facilitate our own going back to home, back to home. So we have a limited time today. I would like to stop here. Thank you so much. Because the class started a little late, we're supposed to start a little early. So we'll open up for any questions. If you have any questions, you can please step up. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams Prabhuji. Yeah, excellent lecture. Very well needed topic was discussed. My question is based on the point that you took up later, that devotees should associate with devotees only. Though this might be having some conditions, because as I am seeing that it will be difficult to have a total switch over from materialistic friendship to devotional ones. Secondly, how do we maintain a balance? Sometimes we have experiences with devotees which are not good. It can hamper our sadhana also. We tend to think our materialistic friends are better. So how do we maintain a balance?
Okay, Mataji. Thank you for your question. So yes, we spoke about the need of maintaining friendship between devotees. We'll speak a little bit more about that subject. Association, the word association is a very broad word with a very deep meaning. And the meaning of this word keeps on increasing and it becomes deeper and deeper as we increase, as we go ahead in our Krishna consciousness. So at different levels one can associate. In the Srimad Bhagavatam we hear of how a person in a Madhyam stage associates differently with different people. So the verse comes, Prem Maitri Kripa Upeksha Yaha Karoti Samadhyam. One who discriminates. The Madhyama Adhikari discriminates. He discriminates in people in whom I have to associate. So Prem means love for the deity, for the Supreme Lord. Maitri for the devotee, friendship for the devotees. Prem and Maitri. And Kripa, mercy, compassion for the people who are becoming devotees or are potential devotees. And Upeksha, neglect of those who are envious of devotees. So as we grow in our Krishna consciousness, we have to learn how to properly apply principles. Association can be at different levels, as I was saying. Suppose we devotees come together and have prasadam together. That is also a level of association. Suppose we sit together and hear a class. That is also a level of association. Further to that would be that devotees sit together and discuss Srimad Bhagavatam or from their personal lives. And even further to that would be when a devotee opens up his heart and seeks guidance and advice in a humble, submissive spirit. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and Arjuna are also associating in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is making his points to Lord Krishna because Lord Krishna is his friend. So that is one level of association between friends. But in the seventh verse of the second chapter, Arjuna accepts his weak-mindedness and becomes a disciple. Now this relationship is a little bit more advanced and intimate than just being friends. So here he becomes a disciple and wants to accept guidance from Krishna. So the point I wanted to just make over here is that we have to be discriminate in whom we are associating with. Also, there is this famous statement that associate with many but follow only one. Your spiritual master or a counselor or some spiritual guide, Shiksha Guru. So we have to choose in whom we are following. Because we are in a society, we will have different categories of people. People who are born Brahmanas and are practicing devout Brahmanical standards. Or people who are here, born from different backgrounds and are here for different purposes. Just like in our hand, we have different fingers of different sizes and they serve different needs. So society has different limbs. There are the hands, legs, head, stomach, and therefore there are people who are fulfilling that need. So we have to learn to discriminate. That is the main point over here. And the second question which you asked in the beginning was, how do we have complete switchover, especially when we are in the material circle? Yes, it is very difficult to be able to do that. Individually, we have to understand how much I need material association. See, one thing is that we associate with material-minded people, and another thing is that we depend on materially-minded people. So, to what degree are we opening our hearts, taking their guidance? Will influence our mindset. There is a famous saying that you tell me who your company is and I will tell you who you are. Sometimes as devotees, when we have bad experiences in devotee circle, we feel that all devotees are like that. Maybe the situation, maybe the circumstance, maybe that particular moment was like that. But it could have been something else on another day with another devotee, in another circumstance with the same devotee. So this kind of benefit of doubt has to be always given to devotees. And still if we try and we find out that it is not working, still devotee should remember what Rupa Goswami says in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Rupa Goswami says that I would better live in a cage filled with pythons than associate with non-devotees. Very extreme statement. So devotee is so much inspired to just stay in devotee association that he considers the association of non-devotees like staying with deadly poisonous cobras and pythons. So materialistic people sometimes are very gentle, sometimes are very calm, sometimes they are very composed. They can give us good advice also. But what is the symptom of a devotee? Krishna ek sharanam. For him, Krishna is the only shelter, which may not be the case in the case of materialistic people. So we should associate with them as much as needed. Everyone's need is different. If you are on job, you need to associate more. If you are not really in such kind of job or you are at home, you may not need to associate with them so much. Or if you are in a big family with big number of relatives, then you may need to associate with them only on very absolutely essential occasions. So we have to take that call, and that's very individual, depending on our advancement and our commitment to Krishna consciousness, how much we are detached from material circle. But gradually, as we progress, surely this will happen. That we'll feel that it is better to associate with devotees at any cost than take shelter of non-devotees. So this is what I can explain to you at this point of time. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, totally. Thank you so much.
Anybody else has any question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Koti Dandavad, Pranam to your necessary class. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev Ji. Prabhuji, one new Vaishnava is asking question that Tilak is our ornament or both the ornament. So that I answered my limited knowledge that gold is a stool, like a stool for Vaishnava, and so that can you please add more points of which you can pronounce Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev Ji.
Hare Krishna. So the question here is whether for a Vaishnava Tilak is his ornament or gold is his ornament.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So for the Vaishnavas, we consider Tilak as our ornament because Tilak is going to protect us from all kinds of material dangers. The most difficult material danger to overcome is the danger of death. And the scriptures point out that if a person always has Tilak on his forehead, the Yumdutas fear to be in the nearby vicinity where a devotee is chanting Hare Krishna wearing Tilak on his forehead. So, who is our friend? Someone who will protect us. Rather, if we wear gold, it may attract so many other nuisance people who may be interested in just our friendship just because of that gold. Or they may be interested in killing us, they may be interested in stealing that. So yes, gold is from a tattva point, it is the stool, it is like a stool of the Lord Shiva made in the material creation. But the devotee utilizes that for dressing the Supreme Lord, making jewelries for the Supreme Lord. Vaishnava's lifestyle is to remain humble and simple living and high thinking. The more we adorn ourselves with gold, diamonds, then the more we tend to stick to bodily consciousness. Because if you are wearing very expensive jewelry, expensive dress, then it may not be very natural for you to render very menial services also. But if you are wearing very simple dress and just like Vaishnava Tilak, everyone else, like every other devotee, you can render menial services also, and you can remind everyone else associating with you that, oh, he or she is a follower of Krishna consciousness. So upon seeing you, they will say Hare Krishna. But not necessarily that if you wear golden ornaments, they will say Hare Krishna. So we have to please Krishna rather than the materialistic people. That should be our objective. The materialistic people are just absorbed in increasing their attention to Kanchan and Kamini, gold and money. And that is what makes a person great in the material world. But what makes a person great in the eyes of Krishna is his surrender. When we are wearing the tilak on our forehead, we are actually, the word is not tilak. Tilak is a very colloquial word used in contemporary languages. The technical word is urdhva pundra. When a person accepts initiation from a spiritual master, he is awarded 5 things. The 5 things are, the first thing that is awarded is a kanthimala, tulsi kanthimala, tulsi neck beads. All of us get these tulsi neck beads when we get initiated. The second thing that is given to us by our spiritual master is urdhva pundra, a mark which we call tilak, which is up in upwards direction. So the tilak is drawn in an upward direction because it reminds us that we have to rise our consciousness in the upward direction, or the work of brightest form. And tilak is the word which we generally speak in our circle. And the third thing that the spiritual master awards us is Nam, Das Nam. He gives us a spiritual name which is ending with Das. So Kanthimala Urdhva and Dasna are to be adorned when a person has received initiation. These are the things that he has to adorn. And the fourth item that he has to wear is he is given a mantra in the ear, which is the Gayatri mantra, which is given to Brahmin initiated people. And the fifth is the Prascha Vidra, the deity to serve and please. You are my master and I will be your lifelong servant. So earlier the spiritual master would give every initiated disciple a particular deity with a name. And then that deity will be the life and soul of this disciple. In our ISKCON temple, we serve the deity which is common in the temple, and every other deities in the home are extensions of the temple deity. So Srila Prabhupada actually divided this whole initiation 5 items into 2 initiation processes. One is the Harinam initiation and one is the Brahman initiation. But the initiation gets complete when you get these 5 items. So Tilak is therefore an essential ornament for a devotee to be worn at all times. It reminds oneself of Krishna and it reminds others of Krishna. It purifies our body because we just don't apply some mud or sand on our head, but we chant, we situate the Supreme Lord over there by chanting Om Keshvaya Namaha, Om Narayana Namaha. And going further than this, there is not only one tilak, but there are 13 tilaks that we have to put on all our body. So the body is a temple of Vishnu, and therefore we worship that presence of Lord Vishnu by applying tilak. Okay. So in short, this is what I can say at this point in time. Thank you so much. Any other questions there?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very, very beautiful class. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Is there anybody having any more questions or comments for Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, you just gave the technical term for tilak, and I was wondering if you could spell that. I think there's 2 words. Could you spell that for me, please?
Which words? Sorry, I couldn't get your question, Mataji.
Excuse me?
Mataji,
Could you please repeat your question?
Oh, yes. That the technical term that Vaishnavas use for tilak, I couldn't hear it properly, so if you could spell it for me, I'd appreciate it.
I will do that. It is called as Urdhva Pundra. The spelling is Urdhva. Urdhva. That's for Urdhva. And Pundra, Pundra. Repeating. Pundra. So this is the technical name for Urdhva.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances. I have just I have noticed that some devotees, they do use this Gopi Chandan, but they just make a dot. On forehead they put the Urdhva Pundra, but on all the parts of the body, the hands and everything, they just put the dot of the tilak, the dot of the Gopi Chandan, but not the Urdhva Pundra. So, can you comment on that, please?
There are many different types of tilak in the Vaishnava Sampradaya, and as many as recognized, I think, 35 or 38 different formations.